like a guilt basket, and in the basket of guilt you got shame as an element in it. So we don't study shame because guilt absorbs it. That's what he's saying. Shame. So Erickson prefers to think of the shame impulse, i.e., okay, so the idioms, right? Barry. So we played the music video to the song Mind Games. The girl was criticizing, "You're no good, you're worthless, you're no good." And the guy was in the sofa, and the sofa swallowed him up. He wanted to disappear. Hide your face, disappear, hide in the wall, like go away, kind of thing. So to bury one's face, to sink into the ground, etc. But he thinks this activity is also guilty. This takes place due to guilt as well. I'm no good. I did something wrong by being defective. Now this is different from feelings of inferiority. Mr. Adler, inferiority feelings. Well, that's just an expression of the shame. So don't get bogged down with that. Okay, shame arises out of the tension between the ego and the ego ideal. Okay, so the ego and remember the ego ideal, I got to be perfect. This tension between who you are and this fantasy of perfection, and you're comparing it, and you feel shame. You're never good enough for this perfect thing. So that's the shame comes from the relationship between the ego and the ego ideal. Being so perfect that your mother would love you and meet your needs. So amazingly perfect, she'd forget about her problems and be human and be a human loving mother magically. It'd be so great like that. It's impossible, right? So shame's between the ego and the ego ideal. Okay. While with guilt, it's between the ego and the inner critic. The inner critic, the accusing finger, the inner critic. So you got this imaginary standard, that's shame. Then you got the guy with the horns braiding you, criticizing you, the pointing finger guy. Okay, that's the guilt one. Versus, I'm not good enough for this image, that's the shame one. Oops. Let's do it like this. Shame arises out of a tension between the ego and the ego ideal, not between ego and superego, as in guilt. Whereas guilt is generated whenever a boundary set by the superego is touched or transgressed. Shame occurs. Whereas guilt is generated whenever a boundary is transgressed. So mothers, don't touch that. You touch that guilt. Shame occurs when a goal presented by the ego ideal is not being reached. So the goal of perfection not reached, shame. Okay, mother said, don't touch that. You touch that guilt.